All right, everybody, I am finally back with a brand new DC update, and this is a special Labor Day edition here in the U.S., which is a holiday, and I decided to take the opportunity to do a video. And I'm sorry, I've had to take a little bit of a break. I got to be honest with you guys, PT is taking a lot out of me. Anytime I go to physical therapy now, it takes me 3 days to recoup. It's gotten pretty hardcore, and it takes a lot out of me. I'm also dealing with my puppy, and he's actually doing quite well. But having a lab puppy, if you've ever had one, you know what's involved with that. And I just have not been able to focus on my channel the way I want. The good news is I'm going to start getting refocused on everything this month in September. And so you're going to start seeing more videos from me. And for people who are actually members of my channel, I'm actually going to start talking about some comic book stuff that will be for members only. And there's quite a few things I want to talk about in regards to the comic aspect of this, the stuff that I really enjoy about DC, and that will be coming up for the members of my channel. But I'm going to continue to do all the updates and everything like normal, and today's video is not going to be a full-blown update. I wanted to talk about one specific thing, and it's a very important thing to talk about, and I'm going to talk about the subject, and at the end I'm going to talk about what needs to be done to fix it. And right now, you know, the thumbnail says why. Why are we getting projects like Peacemaker and Creature Commandos? And I'm actually going to show you an actual interaction that I had with people on X. And this shows you, I really think this goes to show you how stupid people really are and how they don't understand what they're actually saying and what's reality versus what they're making up in their head thinking, hey, this is a good idea type of thing. And so first we want to look at the actual viewership for Peacemaker. Okay, so let's take a look at what I wanted to show you guys here today. First off, it shows you that Peacemaker Season 2, the premiere episode, was watched by 638,000 views. Up 22% than the finale for Peacemaker Season 1, which got 584,000 views. We have been told, okay, couple of things. We have been told that Superman, which was supposed to be this amazing blockbuster summer film, and they actually called it the Summer of Superman, was supposed to rejuvenate the DC brand and bring in a bunch of viewers. You're getting less than 100,000 more viewers, like 70 to 80,000 viewers more is a rejuvenation? By whose measure? What I want to point out about this too is look at the viewership for The Penguin. U.S. households watched the first episode of The Penguin. 3.2 million households watched The Penguin. And we are going to see, I posted about this, and I'm going to take you down this little bit of a rabbit hole to show you, I really think people need to think about what they are saying when they post in response to stuff like this. Because I will tell you right off, before I even show you what I'm going to show you here in a minute, that these numbers from Samba TV, these Peacemaker numbers, this show should not even exist. That is a minuscule amount of people watching that show. Minuscule. When you know how many people are in the U.S. and you can't even get 1 million views. You can't even get 1 million views. Let's talk about what this actually means. Now, before we even get into that, I wanted to show you guys for streaming August 18th through the 24th, which programs were most watched. Alien Earth is by far #1 on Hulu, and then everything else goes below it. Peacemaker is nowhere to be seen. I thought Superman was bringing back interest for DC. No Peacemaker anywhere. So here's what I posted. It says Peacemaker Season 2 was supposedly coming off the blockbuster hit Superman, and it couldn't even get 800,000 viewers. And I should have said 700,000 views instead. When are people going to realize James Gunn isn't the god they said he was? these are pathetic numbers. If Superman really brought the interest back to DC, it should have had millions of views. So what ended up happening, and you guys could go to Twitter and read all of the comments that were on here. Most people support what I said. But there was a small group of people that started to come out in defense of Peacemaker. And the number one complaint, or why they said it didn't do well or get more views, is because it was rated R. And then I went in to say, well, so was the Penguin. But the Penguin was able to get 3.2 million views. That's a huge difference. A huge difference, right? Both are rated R. People said, Peacemaker, it's all about the rating, it's okay to do it. So then other people came in, and I pointed out that, the Penguin was rated R as well, and it made all those views. So people then came in and said, he's a secondary character. He's not well known, so it's not going to get views like the Penguin, who is a well-known Batman character. Well, first of all, Batman's not even in it. Second of all, the fact that they're saying it's not going to get as many views because this is not a primary character in DC, yet he's already had a full season, and we're coming off the blockbuster hit Superman. Why even make the show in the first place? If you know you're not going to get the views, why was the show made in the first place? So this is one thing I wanted to show you, because I think it's ridiculous. Peacemaker should not exist. And then we were talking about, if you remember back with Creature Commandos, I think it was getting less than 300,000 views a week. These are shows that should not exist. There is no audience for these shows. These are not the shows that are driving subscriptions to either one of these services. And then people came in and said, well, it's the number one show on Max, because there's nothing new on Max. When there's nothing new, people are going to gravitate and try to watch. But I can guarantee you, I would almost bet episode 2 the viewership was going to go down because of the crap that they pulled in the first episode. I couldn't even get it. I am done with this show. I will not be watching it. This is not DC. Now let's look at one other thing. This was passed around everywhere this last week, the last part of this last week. Everywhere. It's a top 11 list. And you know why it's a top 11 list of DC movies of all time? Is because Superman came in at number 11. And if they did a top 10, Superman wouldn't even be in here. What's crazy about this is you reboot an entire universe because you claim it wasn't doing well. And it can't even make as much money as Justice League. It can't even bring as much money as Man of Steel, as Suicide Squad, as the Batman, as Wonder Woman, as Aquaman. And then in between there, you have, Batman you also have Batman versus Superman, and then you have The Dark Knight Rises and The Dark Knight. All of those are in there. Superman comes in at a number 11. And you think the interest is back? Really? Well, people post-pandemic are going to see it. How did the Batman make $772 million? How did the Joker make over $1 billion? How did you have Top Gun Maverick? How did you have Barbie? How did you have Oppenheimer? How did you have Lilo and Stitch? How did you have all these movies? Avatar, Top Gun Maverick, I can't remember if I mentioned that one already or not. There's all these movies, Deadpool and Wolverine, made over $1 billion. Post-pandemic. Because if you make the movies people want to watch, they're going to go to the theater. Superman is the most generic, forgettable superhero film on this list. And I would say even more so than probably the next 10 on this list. Superman was the laziest attempt at rebooting a universe I have ever seen. The laziest attempt. And hey, some people enjoy it, and if you enjoy it, great on you. But this isn't what is going to build a franchise. So let me talk about what has to happen next and what I think is going on. So here's what's happening. You had Creature Commandos, which kicked off this universe and nobody watched it. You had Superman, which got mediocre numbers at best. Like it's barely starting to profit for the studio. And then you have Peacemaker, which you can't even get 700,000 views to watch it after you come off of the movie Superman, which was supposed to be bringing interest back to the DC. The problem is the content of Creature Commandos and the content of Peacemaker do not represent the DC brand. They don't, and they shouldn't. It's disgusting. It's depraved. It has no place in DC. People come in and will say, well, we need to show some diversity and we have to have projects for different types of people, and it's okay because it was rated R. Kids shouldn't be watching it. Doesn't matter about the rating. It doesn't matter that they're trying to reach out to a different group of people. That's a small group of people that are going to like that kind of stuff. Those people can go watch porn. They can go watch other things that are accessible online. That's not the DC brand. Yes, there are projects that are dark. You have Sandman. You have all of these projects. Next year, we're going to get, I think it's supposed to be R-rated Clayface. I'll talk more about that in my next video. Yeah, those projects should be rated that because of the content of what those are, but those are mainstream DC projects. What is not mainstream is Creature Commandos. What is not mainstream is Peacemaker. And I will point out that both of those projects have been twisted to James Gunn's vision. Those characters were not like this in the comics. Those characters are not represented anything like they were in the comics. The only thing that is even, if you go back to the way Peacemaker was, the most recent run of Peacemaker, his character was a little bit similar, but not like he is, and especially not the characters around him. They have all been twisted to be these most perverse versions of these characters. This is what James Gunn brings to the table. And I have to give a shout out to Thinking Critical again. He just did a video yesterday, and you guys should go check it out on his fears when James Gunn took over and how he's seeing the exact same thing I'm seeing now. James Gunn has no business in charge of DC. The only thing that's going to save DC now is if Warner Brothers sells this off. And right now I can tell you that there is interest by Paramount, which was bought by Skydance, so they've been acquired. And Skydance is looking to go after Warner Brothers as well and acquire Warner Brothers. And I so hope that it happens. Warner Brothers has driven away their real visionary filmmakers like Zack Snyder, like Christopher Nolan, all of these people. I would even add James Wan to that. They have pushed these people off to the side for James Gunn and his depraved vision of what DC should be. That is not DC Comics. Those other films that I mentioned that made all that money, they catered to their audience. Know your audience. Warner Brothers has never known their audience. We are lucky we got Christopher Nolan's trilogy for Batman. I followed all of that when those movies were being made, and Nolan told the studio, the only way I'm going to make these movies is if you guys back off and let me make my movies. And they did. They started to get a little bit involved in the third one, and you could see that the quality was a little bit off. It was nowhere near as good as the other two, but it was still an amazing film. Like, I have a bigger appreciation for it today than when it was released. But it is the weakest of the three films. And when the studio backs off, you can get some great stuff from these real filmmakers. James Gunn is not a visionary filmmaker. James Gunn is not who he was billed to be. And Warner Brothers needs to realize this. Warner Brothers, I think the DC brand is dead under Warner Brothers. They have no idea what DC fans like or what the audience likes. They have completely lost it. They have no clue. None. At all. The only way this is going to get fixed is if somebody else acquires it. And look where some of the talent has gone. Some of these people are over at Paramount. Some of these people are with Skydance. There is still hope for the future to get things back on track, but it is not going to happen with James Gunn in charge. And with the viewership the way it is, nobody out there, I don't care who you are, you cannot claim that these are a success. I don't care what people say as far as the ratings go on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't care about that stuff. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it matters to the advertisers, to the money that it brings into the studio. And it is a fact that Creature Commandos, Peacemaker, these types of projects are not bringing in money for the studio. They're not. The toys are dead. They go on clearance. Nobody cares about these projects. Nobody cares. Superman did not bring the interest back. That is very clear. There was even an article posted about this, and I'll actually show that in my next video, where now some outlets are, saying maybe Superman wasn't the movie it was supposed to be. James Gunn was the wrong guy to put in charge. That is very clear at this stage. He needs to go. He needs to be pushed to the side. I never thought things would get this bad with Zaslav in charge. You know, he talked a good game when he took over. But this isn't what anybody asked for. This is unsustainable. Unsustainable moving forward. All right, guys, what do you think about the video? What do you think about the numbers that I showed you here today? We've got to talk about reality at this stage. And when you can't get 1 million views on a DC property after you supposedly had this big movie to bring interest back to the brand, why are these projects even being created? It's because James Gunn has been given the keys, and he's going to put his twisted stuff out there. Hell or high water. He needs to go. All right, guys, there's my update for the day. I hope everybody's having a great holiday. We will see you on the next video.